We don't care.
Yeah. Well, is there anything that you want to talk about or don't want to
There's
talk
something
about?
I want to talk about,
What do you
and
want to
that's
talk
who we are and do the introduction.
Okay, let's do the
Okay, yeah.
introduction. So,
You know, I mean,
yeah.
we frequently end up halfway through the podcast before we think about doing the introduction.
We'll jump into it. So, let's see. Thank you for joining 22 Sides podcast. This is Robin Mack, and we're with Alexis Melvin today and Jha Allen. We're really excited to have you in. Thanks for coming in, Jha.
Definitely. I'm excited.
Yeah,
I'm excited.
Yeah. Well, you are already out there a lot with your tech and your media. So I think if people want to find you, you're definitely searchable. And you actually teach people about tech and media, which I think in this day and age, there's a lot of gaps to fill. So it's important to have someone like you to come in and gently assist people in whatever that gap is.
So that sort of gets rid of my first question, because I was going to say, so what do you do? But I'll ask it anyway and let you explain it.
No, definitely. So I started
If you
out.
disagree with Robin, go right ahead.
Yeah, don't go right ahead. Be like, I don't know anything about tech. Don't throw me under the tech bus.
No. You got it right on the head, pretty much. So I started out in marketing, full service marketing agency, website design, social media, things like that. And then over the last 3 years, we've really focused on consulting, public speaking, and training, like you mentioned. Training on artificial intelligence has been the number one training segment that most companies and small business owners want to learn about, is how to integrate AI into their current business, whether it's their process, their systems, and just kind of getting used to it.
I feel like it's coming out fast on a lot of different platforms. It's built into our computers now, even on our phones or our listening devices, the Google, the this, the that.
Yeah.
And so I feel like even if you maybe don't think about it or don't want to use it, it's just right there available for you to take on.
No, it is. But most people don't, like, just because it's right there, they're not using it, or they don't want to use it. Kind of like if you see it on like social media, like Meta has their Meta AI when you try to make a post, or Instagram
it
has
just popped up one day and I was like, I don't know you.
Yeah, just because you have it, most people they don't want to use it, or they are not interested. They might see it, but they really don't understand what it is.
Yeah, this podcast, we use AI for two things. Number one, it comes up with the descriptions. After going through everything, it comes up with descriptions that we never thought of, but are right on.
It's pretty good. Yeah, it's great.
And then the transcripts, it does the transcripts.
Yeah.
Which is very helpful. I mean, we've had a podcast before, and then you would have to outsource a person, or you'd have to worry about lag time. And I want jobs for everyone, but at the same time, AI just does it right there if you don't have the skill set. So if you're thinking about starting a podcast and you're like, well, but I'm not that great in language, or I'm not that great in typing, or, it's an audio thing, so this will be the thing for me. But what about the components where I'm going to have to, type and things like this? Co-host has been really great for us. It's very inexpensive.
That's their AI. But Buzzsprout is the part, the one that we use. It's been really good.
Yeah, Buzzsprout gets it out for you, so you can attach it to like any podcast, Apple, Spotify.
The only one we are not on is
iHeartRadio.
iHeartRadio, because they have an infinite amount of forms you have to fill out. And I'm not kidding.
Yeah,
you fill out all their forms, and they're like, and here's set number 2. And here's set number 3.
And when Buzzsprout makes it so easy, we're like, we'll just go with the ones we're on.
Well, we're on literally everything else.
Yeah.
So it's like...
Yeah.
And eventually I'll get around to filling out the rest of the forms. But when you say, well, it's like 2 a.m, I don't have anything to do, I'll go fill these out. And you do an hour filling out forms, and you're like, this is ridiculous.
For real, especially for just iHeart. That's like, okay.
I mean, for the 7 people that ever see it.
Right.
It's important, but it's hard to know who your demographic is when you're like first putting it out there. And, when I look at you, you're always reminding people like who you are. So for our listeners, how would you create yourself for them?
What you mean by that?
Well, we said what you do.
Good question on your part. I was wondering that too.
Well, we said what you do, but if it's obviously not a camera podcast, like how would you say who Jha Allen is? Like when they work with Jha, when they know Jha, when they think about Jha, what do you want your people who are introduced to you to be left with?
Oh, that's a good question. Actually really good. I would say I would want them to know Well, first of all, I want them to know like integrity. That's a huge thing for me. Person is very honest. This person is very creative. This person is a forward thinker, always thinking outside the box, very systemized in their approach and their move and what they're looking to do next. So ideally, I would hope that's how I come off in my current people, what they would say about me.
I think that's true.
But yeah.
Yeah, that's good. It's good. I think it's absolutely true. And we're just talking off the cuff here, but I always think of you as somebody who's generous. Like, you're always trying to give people tips and tricks, even if they're not your clients. You're like, sign up for my free sheet and just get started where you are, because you have helped a lot of small businesses, and a lot of times they may think of marketing as an afterthought, but that's the thing that will get them to the next person. So they got to start somewhere.
Most of the time. So no, yeah, definitely. I guess I never think generous when I think myself, but
you don't feel generous?
It's not, I don't feel, it's just not.
You're like, I'm stingy.
No, it's just, you know how it
I'm
is.
doing a thumbs up on that comment. No.
Oh, you met John, you were like, not this person, this person. No,
I'm just I'm like generous, that's such a word, I guess. I think we all have that though, like words we don't necessarily categorize ourselves are, but we naturally, maybe because it's more of like, well, that's just who you are, so you don't really even notice or pick up on that. Like, okay.
It's a vibe you're always in, so you forget that that's the vibe that you are.
Facts.
So yeah. Sometimes we just are that. We don't try to be that, right?
Yeah, facts.
And you don't list that in social media, because then everyone will try to take advantage of you just to check.
That's it. Now that's the truth.
Yeah.
Now that's the truth.
Pull back. I only have one free sheet.
Right. Yeah. They might listen to this podcast.
For the week is gone. Just so you know.
Robin told us you're generous. It might turn into that.
Yeah, be careful. Yeah. Be careful. Be careful.
So we now know whose fault that's going to be.
Right. Well, I don't know. You could have said a few things. You could have said, well, I'm a recent dog lover.
Oh yeah,
I got a dog named Louie who's got me wrapped around his little paw.
Yeah,
didn't see that coming.
I know, and it's funny. I wouldn't say I'm trying to get better at that. I noticed that when people ask me, "Well, who are you?" and things like that, I never associate personal facts or personal traits about myself.
Well, that's true.
I don't know why. I just don't.
Sometimes it's hard. Yeah, some people lead with their accolades. Some people lead with, I like fruit, or I like steak, or I like this, like whatever they think of is what they think of, But when I think of you, I think of Louie, because I'm a dog lover too. And then I love how fur pals come into our life, and they, like, it's kind of a surprise to us. Like, they own us for sure, but it's a surprise to us. And Louie strikes me as that type of gentleman.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, Louis. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you took on fitness, and you share a lot about fitness on your social media, which I think is inspiring, because a lot of people think, well, what if I can't get started, or why should I stay working on it? And you're constantly reminding people that it's the everyday steps that add up.
It is. Oh my God, you say fitness, I'm just like, even I still be like,
You don't probably think of yourself as a fitness person.
No, I don't. And then, sometimes I'm like, you go in the gym now and everybody has their little camera and recording and stuff, and I'm just like, oh man, I'm just in here to get it done.
I don't necessarily want to see what that would look like.
And a lot of people don't want to see it either.
Yeah,
but they still
they don't
film
want the
themselves
person
and
next to them
everything.
to be, their camera to be over, filmed.
Then for some people, it's like accountability, or for some people, it's like they track their progress.
Right.
And I do happen to know that it was just a goal you set for yourself, and then you kind of kept going.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm out of the recording stage. I wish I felt, sometimes too, it's like, I don't know, I feel self-conscious in the gym. I'm like, I don't want to be sitting here recording myself. But I try to break out of that, but I'm
pretty egotistical, in my opinion, to want to record yourself.
Yeah, in the gym.
Sometimes.
Some people be fitness trainers and stuff. Like, that's what I hold it as. Sometimes it's like that's their job, or they
sometimes it is their job.
And my view is, are they paying me?
You know how it is with social media now.
Oh, I know.
Or like that's like they use it for like promo to get more clients, or they want to record their clients.
Look, I took this person, they were so bad. Here, I'll show you.
Well, it is hard when you feel like you have an audience that's watching you, and maybe they are, maybe they're not. Maybe that becomes a persona. Maybe it's authentic to yourself. Like, there are some social media and media in general repercussions. And I think some people got into that mode of social media, especially during the pandemic, and didn't even know some of those repercussions. For instance, we had Amber on the podcast, and she said people just be typing things that they would never say in person.
Definitely.
It's like we have to sort of retrain ourselves a little bit, and then I think it does lend itself to a little bit of the isolation and loneliness factors that some people have. But for job to job and marketing and missions and connection, it can also lend itself to that too. So it's about how you use it. So, I mean, where do you find that you come in for people and meet them where they're at mostly these days with marketing?
What I found and been coined as consistently is just the simplicity, because I try to make everything as simple as possible.
Very accessible.
And understanding people that they just don't, they're not there, or they don't do this every day. It's not something that's normal for them. So just finding ways to consistently bring up the simplicity of how to use it, especially with AI. So like every Wednesday we send out a newsletter, which is updates on this is what's happening with AI. We coined ChatGPT because that is one of the bigger platforms, and that's the one that's the most known. So we will do, and I stick to that software. That's it.
Yes.
I hardly bring in other ones, because I've noticed that, and I was literally just talking to someone earlier in a meeting about this. I think I'm great at what I'm doing, but I think people don't understand that the reason that they feel so great after this workshop is because we were focused. We weren't in here like looking at a lot of different tools. We were in here focused.
Because if you throw in like 30 other ones, you can't learn enough. Because humans only learn at a certain speed.
Right, Dad, and they feel like, they're not leaving feeling accomplished, or they might feel like they learned something, but they don't feel as great as if we take a tool that they probably use every day and I just show you how to use it more effectively or more efficiently. Because a lot of people use ChatGPT every day, but the way I use ChatGPT and the way they use ChatGPT might be two total different ways.
Right.
It's because they don't know or understand certain features and certain aspects that you can do on ChatGPT, whereas I study it and I do understand it. So it makes it easier for me to educate you on something that you use every day. Kind of like a social media manager, where it's like, at one point we were like, well, why do I need a social media a manager? But it's like, well, they understand TikTok a lot more than you do when it comes to just posting a video, or Instagram with just posting a post. Ideally, they're expert in what they do, so they understand the features and how to use it at a different level than just you would if you're just, posting.
It's so important.
Go ahead. I was going to say a lot of the other AIs that you might end up using, for instance, if you're doing anything with video or anything with photos, you're going to use Adobe.
Yeah.
And, it's built in, but it doesn't take very long to learn it if you just generally understand how they work. And, the same thing with, a few of the others.
Right.
It's like they're very specific purpose, specific use, like the one with the podcast. I mean, it's easy to use because it does a certain set of things and it does them really well. But it's... The idea is if you understand generally how it works, and ChatGPT is about as generic as you get.
Right. And you just said a valid point, which is a lot of these different tools are building in AI to something that's already there. So you don't got to recreate the wheel. Although it is going to be hundreds of AI tools that come out, like new tools that you've never heard of. But I try to encourage everyone that what is a tool you're already using? Because 9 times out of 10, they see where we're going and they've probably already integrated AI into that tool.
And the one thing that I've noticed is you want to make sure that if you're picking up an AI tool, that you understand what the learning base is for it. Because if it's really shallow, then the AI is going to come up with really shallow answers.
That too, yeah.
And again, that's why, with Adobe, if it's something image-wise, Adobe has a way bigger learning base than anybody else.
Right. No, definitely.
And I think that's a big part of it.
Definitely. They call it prompt engineering.
Yeah.
So the way you're able to ask the different tool how to do something for you affects the response that you get, whether it's picture, video, text.
And for somebody who does this as a profession, how much time do you use to keep learning all this stuff? Because I think that I can only imagine it's just sort of endless. I mean, do you try to pull yourself in a little bit and balance your screen time, or do you get in there and geek out for a few hours, or like what's your strategy on how you stay enough, not knowing all things, but enough up to date to be able to communicate what you know and maybe to apply it for your people?
Ideally, my goal is to listen to something every day, one video a day. But I only listen to I've learned to be very focused with this stuff. So like on YouTube, I'll listen to IBM technology.
Okay, so it's like a training video.
Yeah, they have every day they come out with a new video about AI or about technology as a whole.
Yeah.
Typically, it's not a long video, but every day I'll listen to something with IBM or OpenAI, which is ChatGPT, has an academy that teaches you everything about ChatGPT. So I'll listen to one of their videos.
Wow.
And then it's some like YouTube influencers that I will tune into, but I don't tune into a lot of them because it's biased information. I'd rather just learn directly from ChatGPT, or I learn directly from IBM. But my idea or my goal is one video a day, even if the video is like 6-7 minutes, because IBM is good for making like a 7-minute video that's just packed with information. Then if I have more time, I can do like a 42-minute video or 1 hour. I try not to do nothing over an hour, or if it's like 2 hours, sometimes it's like a podcast and they're going back and forth. But even something with 2 hours, I gotta digest the information. So I'm big on like, I'll listen to it for like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and then I have to stop it. And then I'll just sit with whatever I learned, because usually I'm working. And if I'm working, it's hard for me to work and listen because I want to start implementing. I get excited. And I'm like, oh, I didn't know it can. So I'm going back and forth. So if
I just learned something.
So if I notice I'm learning something really new and insightful, I'll stop listening to it. If I'm doing something that I want to focus on, because I can't focus and listen at the same time. So, but
It's good to know yourself.
Yeah, one thing every day, even if it's small. I'm on everybody's email list.
The interesting thing is nobody can. It's just a lot of people think they can.
Oh, yeah. I guess so. Yeah. I guess so.
They've done all sorts of studies and tests. It's like, no, you can't do 2 or 3 things at once.
Yeah.
You swap in and out fast, but people aren't made to have multi-processing.
Yeah, but I noticed that. And, well, I probably try to do it with other stuff, but when it comes to learning, I don't for some reason. I just like, no.
That's good. It's too. Yeah, you know when to focus.
Yeah, I'm like, nah, it's too good.
I like the fact that you just made that accessible for people even listening to this, because like they may not be running a business, they may not need your business, but they might want to learn something about what they've got going on. And it's like, well, what influencer do I start out with? I agree with you. I think go to the source of the makers, and so it's more streamlined. But I didn't know they were pumping out that content every day, so that's kind of cool to know.
Yeah, IBM pumps out content every day, and then ChatGPT or OpenAI, they have their own podcast now, and they have it. They're on their like 3rd or 4th episode.
Wow.
So if you are using something like a ChatGPT, you can hear directly from them on different things that they're doing with the technology. But yeah, they're in like their 3rd or 4th episode, OpenAI podcast.
My concern with ChatGPT, just as somebody who's like observing this, and I'm the type of person who is late to the game. Yeah. Like I'm not putting up myself on a platform, my image, like anything, and I would say that I'm not tech savvy, but my concern just observing ChatGPT is you put in your information, you talk to it, things like this. And what I'm seeing humans do is they didn't want to talk to their Alexas or their Google, in their house, but they're telling ChatGPT everything. Like they're even using it for therapy. So I'm like, wait, how did we go from they're listening to let me tell you all this stuff and make you my personal assistant, my best advisor, and now my therapist? And okay, if it's delivering on all that, like I wish everyone well, and maybe it's accessible, and this is the thing we've been waiting for. But when it goes into the void of data, if you will, what's to say that, let's say if you're a business person and you're giving it your ideas and your business data, that somebody in another state, another country isn't going like, oh, hey, this is the best idea that ChatGPT gave me. And it's like, your idea. It's your stuff. We used to copyright stuff, but now we're just giving it away freely.
Ideally.
Has there been any talk about that? Like, am I on a right track about that? Because I'm like, that's interesting. Like, I mean, I could literally say my idea right now, and then somebody in France is hearing that idea from ChatGPT and be like, that's my idea. And I don't know, is there like a stinginess that is there for people, or that's going away for people, or what's ChatGPT doing with all that stuff?
Nah, they promote that they're keeping your data. It's private. If you pay for it, then you can, like, it's a feature on there where you can say, don't train the model on my data. So ideally, the model is not being trained on data that you're giving it.
Okay.
However,
and we humans believe that.
Yeah, that's what we believe. That's what we believe.
I've seen The Matrix.
Yeah. So that's their hiccup on that. But when it comes to, no, you're absolutely right. I think it was just a progression. So yeah, at one point we didn't want to talk to Alexa or Google Home. However, now we're open to talking to ChatGPT, and I think it's because of the comfort level and the ease that they've made ChatGPT into everyone's life. So I was listening to something that Sam Altman said, which he was even shocked when they came out with ChatGPT, because he was like, they weren't thinking it was going to do this good, but he was shocked at how many people just like to talk to the model. So it's not even necessarily like it doing anything for you. It's more so of you being able to talk to it.
Right.
And it can comprehend and talk right back to you. So from a standpoint of it now being able to do some of your tasks or to really answer any type of intricate questions you have, just makes it 10 times better. But at one point, it was just, it's able to talk back. It's a chat. Like, I'm able to converse with something, and yeah.
And when we were in the COVID pandemic and we were isolated and loneliness was already an issue before then, like, I want that for people to some degree, right? But then I'm a little concerned where it's supposed to be something that learns you and you shape it to learn you. And I've thankfully seen some therapists speak to this. Like, you have to sort of, they say you have to sort of ask it to ask you the hard questions too, not just what you want to hear, or have it ask you like what you're not considering, so it's not so U-shaped.
Right.
And because, like, are we just basically creating another, us bubble, me bubble?
It seemed like it was skewing towards that.
Okay, good.
However,
That's good.
yes, to whomever you've seen this from, you do have to prompt it to ask you the hard questions or to be your thought partner. And it's different. It's different traits you can have it adapt to. So if you go in your settings, you can change the traits and say, hey, I want you to be more thought-provoking. I want you to ask me the hard questions. You can kind of train it to how you want it to respond back to you, which is a pro, but it also potentially can be a con, because like you're saying, if somebody wanted to create their own bubble, they're
going to do it.
They can. Yeah.
Yeah.
But they can do that with friends.
Yeah, they could. They can too. Yeah.
I mean, you see that all the time if you get a bunch of people together.
Yeah.
There's some of them that they ask the hard questions and they don't lie to you.
Right.
And then there's others that everything you do is perfect and it was wonderful until they turn around.
Yeah, no, true.
Some people say, what's the time limit to your friendship is the moment they tell you no or disagree, right? Or some people believe in there's power in silos because it's protective and it feels comfortable and no one pushes anyone, but it's also tough because when you climb a ladder, look out your silo, you realize the rest of the people created those too, and that keeps us apart from one another.
I can see that.
Yeah, but I could see that. I had a friend of mine say, well, I told my ChatGPT to be the best somatic therapist, and they just started listing all the therapists they wanted to see, but they couldn't afford. So they were like, I'm going to need the somatic therapist, the psychotherapist, and the this, but I'm going to need to be told very nicely or something like this, And I'm like, okay, well, I like that for you. Like, I hope it goes well. Yeah.
It was a video that became popular recently where and this is probably a con to some people that are using it as a therapist potentially, but there's no guardrails in ChatGPT where when you're talking to a therapist or you're talking to a lawyer, then they have guardrails, the confidentiality. Okay. He said that if something happens and they have to pull like your ChatGPT chats and that is something that potentially the courts can't ask them to do, and they legally, they have to, because they don't have that same confidentiality. wall that therapists, lawyers, etc. have.
Okay.
So that's also something to think about when people are using it as a therapist.
Nice. Good to know. Good to know. And well, it's one of those things that are just going to sort of keep growing. And I had the, what do you say? The gift, the time, the accessibility to join one of your workshops. And I loved how in a Q&A, one of the guests asked, you know, like, where's this going, or what happens if I put all my ideas into it with the copyright situation and whatnot and trademarks and everything. And I think you were just very honest in saying, like, this is a new tool. So no one really has those answers.
We don't.
And use it as if that's the case. You know, no one knew where MySpace was going.
Right.
Where's that now? No one knew where Facebook was going completely. Even the owner didn't. You know, like, no one knew where, you know what I'm saying? Like, it just grows.
Right.
So you take it in stride. And I like that there's a mental health component, and I like that there's a business support component, because even if we did go to academia and try our best, the technology is always changing. So it's nice that there's a way to keep learning with that and keep growing with our businesses, no matter what the business is. Do you find that there's certain businesses or nonprofits that you gravitate towards working with?
Me personally?
Yeah.
Mostly just, I leave it in a nutshell of service-based, some type of organization where they're trying to serve a bigger mission.
Okay.
So, and that bigger mission is different for a lot of different groups, but most of the time it's service-based. But going back to your point of academia and using ChatGPT, they have ChatGPT EDU. So it is inside of certain institutes already. And they just came out with something called Study and Learn. So with this new feature with ChatGPT Study and Learn, it's supposed to be where it's not telling you the answers anymore. It's acting almost like a tutor for you and
That's nice.
helping you maneuver through complex problems or complex situations
Good.
without automatically giving you the answer. So that's kind of that. So that's what they put
Look
into
out,
play.
kids. Look out, students.
Yeah, so that just came out maybe 2 or 3 days ago. It's called.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's free. It's on a free plan.
Okay.
But it's called Study and Learn. So if you go inside of ChatGPT and look at tools, and you'll see Study and Learn, and it's almost like a tutoring effect where
That's
it's
neat.
moving you through how to get the answer without just giving you the answer.
That's so cool.
Yeah, I think one of the things that's scary about all of the AI programs is that they evolve rather quickly.
Oh yeah.
And, you talked about the amount of time you spend, trying to keep up, if
Right.
you will. And I think that's what worries an awful lot of people. And businesses have been unable to evolve that fast.
Definitely.
So the businesses are always behind. And sometimes being behind is a really bad idea.
Definitely, especially in today's day and age. Is being behind is going to cost a lot of businesses, and unfortunately, it's going to cost a lot of people. I posed a question, and I still don't have the answer to it, but I posed it on TikTok, and I got mixed reviews where it's like, let's say you work for a company and you had 10 bullets of tasks that they hired you to do. However, they integrate AI, and now out of those 10 tasks, they only need you to do 5. Does your salary stay the same, or does it now change and go in half because you're doing half the task? I don't have it, but that's just a thought-provoking question that I asked people. I got mixed reviews.
And I was going to say, I did a lot of management consulting, and that brings up the standard age-old question. If by getting rid of those, they only need you to do 5 of the tasks, they've now saved half a person. Well, as we all know, you can't save half a person.
Right.
So what do? Most businesses are like, well, I don't need you anymore because I only have half a job for you.
Right, yeah.
And we'll figure out the other half.
Right.
Some businesses go the other way and say, we've got plenty of stuff for you to do. We'll find something.
Right.
But most of them take the approach of, I've saved half a person, so I need to take my savings, shall we say, which means you're out of a job.
Definitely. And it's going to be unfortunate, but a lot of employees and, people can say, well, I was doing, you want ChatGPT, quote unquote, to handle your mundane tasks. But when you start realizing, I think a part of your salary is handling those mundane tasks. So you start to kind of question, do you really want it to handle those mundane tasks? And then 2, like to your point where you said like half a person, that's very true. But also think about, okay, if ChatGPT is handling, let's say again, those 5 tasks out of the 10, are you honestly going to go find more work to make the company more valuable? Or do we live, and I believe this part is unfortunate, we live in a day and age where some employees might take the rest of the day off. And it's like, you can't do that.
Well, and the big thing I think that you actually see when that happens, what you're talking about, is that their view is it's management's job to figure out what they need me to do. And it sort of is.
Yeah.
But that doesn't really keep your job. Maybe their job, but you need your job.
Right. Catch-22 for sure.
And it depends on the employer, because there are programs that will show the employer how long you're actually touching the keyboard.
Oh, yeah, that's it.
You know, what you're doing, what you're saying, things like this. And they may not be too forthcoming about that.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that they don't have the program going.
Right.
I was going to say, and that's, gotten certain people that just automatically type in their sleep. And yes, I'm making the noise on purpose. They go to sleep, keep typing.
I'm sleep typing.
No, definitely. But it's going to be an interesting world. We head into a very interesting time to be alive. It's interesting.
Well, and part of what worries me about all the AI is when we start getting it into government and military.
It's there.
Oh, I know.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
She's not just breaking it here. Okay,
No, but because it doesn't have the ethics. Of course, government doesn't have ethics these days anyway, but that's beside the point. But military honestly does have some ethics. It may not be the ones I like, but if you start getting rid of all their ethics, it will make some decisions that you may not like.
Right. Kind of like iRobot. And it's funny, I just recently really seen iRobot. But kind of like the whole thing with Will Smith and his whole thing with what he called these robots was because they saved him instead of the little girl that was in the car wreck with him. And the reason they did that was because to their calculations, he had a higher percentage of living versus her. Whereas he's saying if it was another way around, it was a human, naturally the human would have let the grown man figure it out and would have saved the little girl.
Right.
So kind of to your point when it comes, it's not really on ethics necessarily, but it's on that pool where it's like,
it's different.
I mean, it's like the self-driving cars. One of their problems is if you're in a situation where the analysis is, do I allow someone in the car to be hurt, or do I hurt somebody outside the car?
Right.
And that's a hard question.
Yeah, and we're leaving those hard questions up. I rode in a Waymo in San Francisco in self-driving cars. I did one. It was cool, but to your point, that's the same thing where you're leaving. But okay, let me play this one. Is anything wrong with having these tools or machines make those hard decisions versus people, potentially make a decision that we don't always agree with as well? So what's the biggest difference between the two?
In my mind, you'll get more consistency with the tools.
Right.
But you have to give it a heck of a lot more thought than some other type decisions you have to make.
Okay.
I mean, whether to make a cookie a little sweeter or not quite as sweet,
Right.
I could care less.
Right.
But if it's who dies, once it's determined that somebody's going to die here,
Right.
at a high probability.
Right.
Deciding who dies is a really difficult decision that requires a whole lot of training thought.
Right.
And so I think, that's the difference. And I worry that we don't do enough of the ethics training up front.
Right. No, definitely. Definitely. Yeah.
And these are the ones that have no real answer.
Yeah, and that's the scary part because they won't have the answer until something happens. But even after something happens, it's still not.
The moment something happens that's bad, Congress is going to get involved. And the biggest way to know that something's a bad bill is when Congress tells you how to do it, not what to do. And they'll be telling you how to do it.
Right.
And it'll just get worse.
Yeah. It's man, what a time to be alive. I was watching something on Instagram, and that's probably another way I keep up. These algorithms, that's one thing they are doing well for me right now. They know what I want to see. So I keep up too from just scrolling on social media. I don't see a lot of stuff that's not AI technology related nowadays. But I was watching, Elon has his Optimus robots he's seeking to create, but they already have other companies that are doing it. And one of them is called Humane Robot. so they've been building that for a few years. And I might be saying the name a bit wrong, but I was watching the founder. He has one of them at home, and they're training the one that he has at home. And this one was putting laundry inside of the washer. He said it took it a month for them to train how to do it and things like that. But
different garments.
Yeah. He trained them over a month. But now other of the same systems know how to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So that's one thing about certain technology. When one of them learns it, it deploys it to all of them. So now all of them kind of have that nuance of knowing how to do laundry.
Yeah, and humans don't work that way.
No, and that's the scary part about it. I was listening to a podcast. I said that we don't work that way. So and we learn at like steps. I forgot how many words even in a sentence we can make where it's like these robots can do
very fast.
Well, yeah, I keep thinking as we go through what.
And I'm just like,
As we're going through this, I think about something that in fact, I first heard in the 50s. I've done computer consulting for a long, long, long time, since 1964.
Wow.
And that sort of stuff. But, the standard thing of the error is human, it takes a computer to really screw it up. Well, it's the same thing with this. The error is human, but AI can really screw it up.
Yeah.
Because you get one little piece of wrong training in there, and it propagates to everything in the world.
It's like the movies, the iRobots, all the other ones that everybody keep references. That's what it turns into.
And it can. I mean, the thing about it is that's possible.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's very possible. One of they call him the godfather of AI, Henry, he used to work for Google, but he no longer works for Google. So he created like the whole algorithms and how AI is essentially able to work. And Google bought the technology. So Google actually has been sitting on this for a while, but ChatGPT is the one that released it and just exploited it to the world. But Google's been having it for a while, but they didn't release it for whatever reason. I'm not sure.
Didn't release what?
Didn't release the AI technology, like the chats and different things of that nature.
Because it wasn't really mature, and they wanted it mature.
That too.
And ChatGPT wasn't mature when it first was released.
It wasn't. It had all. You remember, it used to stop, or it used to have all these different things happening, but it's steady grown. But however, he worked for Google for I think 10 years or something, but he's no longer working with them. So now he does podcasts to warn people about this technology,
created?
about what he created.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and he's I believe him because he's like a straight shooter. He seems like he's like a Canadian guy, just a straight shooter, doesn't try to like go over and make anything elaborate. He's just very straightforward and like, hey, we created something. And I think he said it's like a 20 or 30% chance that he feels like they'll take over, humanity. But he was like, in the moment, he didn't realize the cons of what he was creating. I guess kind of any determined person, so many people are telling you that it can't be done. He was more so showing like, hey, I'm going to get it done. And once he got it done, he said that's when after he started to really realize like, whoa, what did we just do here? So,
when we came up with the atomic bomb, there were a couple of people that did that their whole thing was, oh my Lord, what did we just do? And I mean, they were dead serious about it.
Right. Some things are created, but there's major consequences for them.
And because the big thing was when they were doing it, they were just concentrating on doing it, not thinking about any of the negatives of it. And the same thing with, I think, AI.
Yeah.
Of course, I've got a question.
Yeah.
So, AI, artificial intelligence. Do we think this really qualifies as artificial intelligence, or is there one piece that separates it from human intelligence?
To be honest, that's a good question. It's this saying that say, if it's artificial intelligence, then how is it intelligent if it's artificial? I've heard that before, which is...
where this comes from, I've been around artificial intelligence for a long time.
Yeah.
And every time we were able to accomplish what the definition of artificial intelligence was, we decided the definition was wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, at one point, what we came to know as heuristic systems were considered artificial intelligence. But then when we got heuristic systems all over the place, that's a system that can program itself a little bit. when we got those, everyone's like, well, that's not really artificial intelligence. It's not really thinking. Then we went with rule-based systems, and everyone's like, yeah, if we ever make that work, it'll be artificial intelligence. Well, then the rule-based system started working, and suddenly everyone's like, well, that's not really artificial intelligence. It doesn't really think for itself. Then we went with some, advanced rule-based systems, they put another name on it, but that's all it was just making better rules. And it's like, well, when we get this working, it'll be artificial intelligence. Then as soon as it was working, it was like, well, this isn't really artificial intelligence. The current AI, that's my question. Is this really artificial intelligence? Does it think for itself?
Supposedly it doesn't. But supposedly it doesn't.
And all I'm saying is I'm asking you.
What do I think? And I don't know.
Yeah.
I honestly don't know. And it's funny you mentioned that. I'm glad you gave that timeline, because that's what they're doing now with what they call like the AI agents that can work autonomously. Now it's like, okay, when they got to ChatGPT, they said they thought that was like, okay, that's autonomous. And then now it's just going even further. Now some of these agents can actually do the task for you, but now they're pushing it even further. Well, is that really AI agents? So kind of to your point, it's just going further and further and further into when do you get to the point of where you accomplish what you
And
need?
honestly, my opinion is that with ChatGPT and all the other AIs, they're just very fast and creative rule-based systems. I mean, and they're finding their own rules. That's
Right.
okay. We did that when we did some of the stuff that we did. I mean, one of the groups that worked for me was Schlumberger got the first actual patent that went to an artificial intelligence system. And that's because we had no idea how to do what it did. It just followed rules. And it came up with a rule that nobody even knew was in the rule base until it showed up and used it. And it created something that no one had ever seen the likes of that worked really well and was patented by Schlumberger. And so it was like, okay, it's a rule-based system. It sort of thought for itself, but not really, because it went and found a rule that worked there.
Right.
And I don't see, like the ChatGPT, et cetera, being much different than that. It looks up its own rules and creates its own rules, and it does lots of combining of rules and to make it real efficient. But I think it still goes, which makes me more comfortable than if it was actually thinking.
Right. No, and that's a good point. Supposedly, with these AI agents, that's where it's going to take off to where they're able to now. Like, you can tell what they call an AI agent. It'll work autonomously. So you can say, hey, can you update my website? And then after you update my website, make sure that you send an email out to my subscribers. And then the AI agent will go in and it'll update your website, and it'll also send that email.
Right.
But supposedly it will be able to realize and think and maybe see where, hey, we can send this email about a deal that you have next week, but what about what we have going on tomorrow? So instead of sending that email that you maybe suggested, it can come back and tell you, well, hey, what about if we do this? Or it should be able to think and be able to reason on what would be a better approach to certain situations. Or let's say you are coming up with a hiccup with a task that you ask it to do. Instead of coming back to you telling you it cannot do the task, it should be able to process how to get around to get it done. Which when I talk about it out loud, it could potentially still be like a rule where it just knows. So
Right.
I mean, again,
and it's like there's another layer of rule processing that creates the more complicated rules. But it could all be done with rules, if you will.
right. That right now we're hoping that's all it's going to keep being. Right? Because when I explain it out loud, like, the way then I look at what you explain, it's just consistent and more advanced rules, and hopefully it stays that way. But
Because if it starts making up the rules.
then we have an issue.
But one of the systems that we did was basically a computer-aided engineering system, and it designed things, and that's the one that got the patent. Plus, there was a landing gear for aircraft that had brakes, and it could not be designed. I mean, with the standard traditional design, it couldn't be. So the idea was to throw it into the AI system and just let it crunch on it for a while. And the first pass of designing something took it almost 2 months on 2 crays. I mean, it was a lot of crunching.
Right.
And it came up with a design that worked. And no one had built it like that before because some of the components of this landing gear system and braking were sort of inverted. But, the idea was, okay, it's going to cost this much to build one. And we're like, we'll pay. we have to see it. But then the interesting thing was everyone's like, well, we can't spend that much time. But the second one that it did took about an hour.
So I learned.
Oh, yeah. It created a whole lot of sub rules, et cetera. And every time this happened, we had to spend, hours. I say we, the people that work for me, had to spend hours going back through to make sure they understand how it did what it did, to make sure it wasn't screwed up. And it wasn't.
Like you said, there could be an error.
Yeah, there could be an error. That could be a really bad error because, literally this was being built by Bendix for airplanes. So it's sort of important to not be the people that are mentioned in the crash.
Right, for sure.
and that sort of stuff. And then like Ford was using the stuff that we had done, and there was a car that it was designed completely electronically, and we ran the AI simulations on it to say what'll happen.
Right.
And they had looked at all of the standard engineering stuff, but the AI simulation, instead of just pushing buttons, it would tap buttons hard, simulated. It would push them slow, and it would push them slow and then release them. And the first time it did that with the speedometer reset, the button comes out of the dashboard, turns around, and ends up in the seat. And everybody's like, oh, that's just messed up. And so they went and looked at their mock-up that they'd been working on.
Right.
They'd forgotten a little tiny thing that's called, a nut that keeps it in place.
Right.
It had nothing on the back. And if you actually did that, that's exactly what happened.
Wow.
And they wouldn't have seen that. And all of a sudden they wanted to buy the system.
Right. Of course.
And the whole bit. So, I look at it and I don't see these as advances. What I see them as doing is going into language more than just engineering. Engineering is pretty straightforward because the initial program on the system were the rules of physics. There's a certain number of them, but they're pretty hard and fast.
Right.
And so that was the start, and it could develop anything it wanted from those. And then you did other rules for special things. But with language, you start having to go in, and now it's more complicated, but again, it's just more complicated. It's not impossible.
Right. And to your point, I was listening to something, and I forgot who it was, but that's exactly what they said. The biggest thing and what makes this so revolutionary is its language.
Yeah.
So before, people like yourself, you understood everything.
I could write rules for it.
Yeah. You guys were in a set group of people, and it was only a certain amount of people that could and understand that. But now, because it's language, natural language.
Yep.
The common person can get that similar or same technology.
Which also makes it a little scary.
Yeah, exactly. No, exactly, to your point. But yeah, I forgot what I was listening to, but yes, that's exactly what they mentioned, where it's now that it's language is what makes it whoa.
Well, and it doesn't care what language it is.
That too. English, Spanish, whatever, that's another thing.
Russian, Chinese.
Yeah. You can change it to whatever, and it'll talk back to you in that language too.
Yep.
Talk back and forth. So no, yeah. But that's that, man. We need to have you on the podcast. Well, I should have. Because that took me on a wild ride. I was excited.
Well, we can start in the 60s.
Yeah. That was a wild ride. I was excited.
Well, you're always welcome back. But
And all I can say is, it seems like people are surprised sometimes at what I've done or haven't.
Not surprised, more so. I think because I'm so interested in the industry that's what
one of the things I've done my entire life, and because I've been around computers for a really, really long time, is I look at what's the same as opposed to what's different.
Right.
And usually there's a little tiny sliver that's different. That's all you have to really learn. If you're like, okay, this is the same as this is the same as this. And, like when object-oriented programming came out, they were trying to say, oh, this is a revolutionary thing. No, it's just subroutines and functions, if you really were looking at programs. And, they called it something that's sexier and nicer and all like that. I get that. And it's sort of like, okay, so now I fully understand it. That took about 7 minutes.
Right.
And people are like, well, but it does. And I'm like, yeah, I know. There's different names that were attached to those. It's neater the way you do it. I'll learn the language and the whole bit. And it's like I shoot pictures and all like that. I used to consider myself a casual photographer. And by casual, I meant I didn't do a whole lot of let's set up the entire, set and do all that and a whole bit. I like to be out and just sort of take pictures of what's going on in life.
Okay.
Well, then a bunch of people from probably the West Coast, but it could be now is New York, came up with the term street shooters. Well, that was sexier, so I started becoming a street shooter. I didn't change what I did. But in teaching classes, people like to be trained to do street shooting much more than casual photography. And it's like, hey, I'm adjustable. I can change the name with no problem. And it's, it's a different style photography, but the same as the casual photography.
Right.
Because you aren't adjusting the environment to fit the photography. You're adjusting the photography to fit the environment, which is what I prefer.
Right.
And you've been having a lot of fun with the newer programs for AI with photography also.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the fact that they think for you, they're faster, they can alter the image in the way you're thinking is just really new.
And, some of them are okay. Some of them are really great, like Adobe's.
Yeah.
I've used a bunch of stuff with Adobe Lightroom. And what they will do, if you want them to, is they'll look at every picture you have. They will go through the entire Adobe library of pictures, and they will come out with photos that they think are the same, that have been professionally adjusted with everything you want to do. And they start displaying yours with those set of adjustments, and it's like, pick the one you like.
Wow.
And you get the adjustments and everything else, and you can make changes if you want.
So next thing you know, you're like, whoa, I shot that picture. It's like, not really, but...
Well, yes, really. I mean, I'm sorry, anything,
Yes.
Well, the other thing about it is with photos, almost anything that you change to do post-processing, you could have changed in the camera if you wanted to take the time.
Right.
And, that's the big thing. I mean, like, I don't edit anything that I couldn't have changed in the camera.
Right.
That's just my ethic.
Right.
And, but that means, I can change all the lighting. I can change a whole lot of stuff, just not the actual image.
That's a good ethic to go by. I think I've heard that one.
And, the one thing that might be slightly cross the line on that ethic is that if there's something that's distracting, I'll remove it.
Oh, no.
I won't add, but I will remove.
Okay. That's good.
That's just art. No, just kidding. That's just standards.
That's good. That's good.
But,
that's good.
Unless it's a good photo bomb, you don't want it.
Right. And sometimes those are okay.
Sometimes they work out. Yeah.
But and I guess like I said, my biggest thing is I try to see the sameness, if you will, or the fact, the commonality between the previous versions and the new version and all like that, because, there's just too much to learn if you start from scratch. And there's a lot of times people are like, how do you know all this? And I'm like, well, I started with a little tiny piece. It was like, we didn't even have Fortran. We had to write everything in binary computer code.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
And then when we got Fortran, it was amazing. And I can do pretty much anything you ever wanted to do in Fortran, but there's better languages and better,
Right.
It's like, but, as it goes along, you decide which ones are worth it, et cetera.
Right.
And now you just got a new computer that you're installing that has the preference of choosing, do I want this computer to come with AI programs or do I not?
Well, no, I need a new computer. 15 years is about as long as it'll last. Okay. Even if you buy one and configure it so it'll last as long as it can. Plus, Windows 10's going away, and I sort of need this stuff in Windows 11. So, got a new computer, and the real question was, do I want to get an ultra processor or not? And the ultra processor, in addition to having a graphics processing unit, has an AI processing unit. Boy, does it do AI fast.
Sure. Yeah.
I mean, the things where you're getting the stuff where it's coming up slowly on a regular computer, it just goes boom, all there. And I've started watching the AI processor, and it's being used quite a bit.
Wow.
And I'm not exactly sure what they do or how they do it, but it certainly seems to work well.
Wow.
And looking at it, I was like, okay, it's a little more money, and then I'm like, okay, in the next 10 years, AI is going to be really important. It would be really nice to have its own processor in
Right.
there. And it runs at the same speed as the main processor. In fact, a little faster than the main processor. So it's all good.
Wow.
But
So who knows? I mean, we have a lot of interesting things going on, as you said. What are you looking forward to next in your life from your viewpoint, Jha?
Just in life,
Yeah.
man. To be honest, all I think about is my business and
Yeah.
growing my business.
okay, so where do you want your business to go?
That's literally by the end of the year, or just in general.
This year, next year, in
Either
general?
way, what would you want? You're in 2025, and if
A
you
6-month, 12 or 18-month, and 5-year plan. There,
18-month and 5-year plan. That's 3 years or 2 years.
5 years. 18
18
months is a
months?
year and a half.
Yeah. And you said,
I said, in 3 months
okay, got it.
or end of the year.
Okay. End of the year, that's easy. End of the year is easy. Let's at least aim for 3 more corporate clients. So
Okay.
I'm moving into the private sector. I help a lot of small business. Still want to help small business, but I want them to be a bit bigger, but still they can be small business. Because as you know, small business can mean they're making 10, 15, $20 million in revenue. If you go by the SBA, revenue is small. So I would say at least 3 more corporate accounts by the end of the year. Next, yes, you're going to say
No, I was just going to say, when I was doing consulting, I quit consulting with small businesses because they just didn't have the money to pay.
yeah, if you I don't want to be that. They don't have the money to pay.
And so, basically, if I stayed with small businesses because somebody who can't pay, I'm not going to ding them on it.
Right.
And so what that meant was I was going to be broke.
Yeah. No.
And
Yeah.
so I decided after doing a couple big corporation type things, I'm like, they have the money to pay, and they also recognize the value they can get out of something.
That too.
And so I sort of switched to Fortune 10 companies and governments.
Yeah, the government, I play around in that space here and there. By play around, I mean I'm actually bid and do different things. It's just like you probably know a longer relationship building game with them, which is fine. But moving more in the private sector, where kind of how you mentioned, they have the money, they know they need it, they're willing to just go ahead and pay. And I always wonder, are they willing to just go ahead and pay because it's not their money technically? And it's a bit, they don't have real emotional attachment to it, but I don't know why.
Well, small businesses, I found out the owners and people running them usually had emotional attachment.
Yeah, that's why I feel like they're like,
Now, there's a certain size when suddenly they don't. When they have a board of directors that actually does things and they start having shareholder meetings,
right,
they could care less.
right. But yeah, I figured the corporates, I'm like, oh, they'll pay. So that's where the sector that I'm really looking to probe and get more into.
So how are you getting the information to them about what you do?
Right now, I do a lot on LinkedIn, so that's a big one for me. Believe it or not, I do a lot of networking. So in the networking groups that I'm now becoming a part of they aren't with really mostly small businesses. So they're more like like they might have a membership to the organization because their corporation is a member. So you might have like different banks and law firms and things like that.
But they know the small businesses that have money. And banks are really good because if there's something you can do to produce revenue, the banks will frequently point you toward a small business that's having trouble that the bank wants to have survive.
Right. The banks, I haven't did much with banking. I need to get better banking associates. Because I found the ones that I deal with most of the time, they're always I can't say that because one guy just introduced me to someone via email earlier, and I haven't followed up with him yet. He's a banker, so he introduced me to someone recently. But to answer your question, most of the time I'm doing a lot on LinkedIn and then events. So I do a lot of speaking. So if I'm speaking at an event, then I'm able to get the reference from that too.
Yep, that's always good.
long term. What about long term?
I'm not sure.
Okay, so
Right, well-
it's open.
Long term over the year, I'm building I'm really good I'm an educator. I can educate you all day. I can make topics simple. I'm more of the person where you're going to go out. You're probably front and center, the face. However, I'm building a back-end tech arm because from an implementation standpoint, while that's something that I'm privy to, I don't want to learn it full blown because why?
Right.
If I have,
it's hard to do both.
It's hard to do both, but also I can build partnerships with that one. So I'm now at a stage in my business where I don't want to be everything. I know what I'm strong at, and I'm learning that most developers are not strong at the same things that I'm strong at. So they've actually been coming to me. Like in my last engagement, it was a developer in there. He has a small team, and he came to me. He was like, "Hey, I really like what you're doing, and yeah, you presented really well." And he brought me the idea that I was already thinking, where I want to build stronger relationships with developers on the back end, because I could go in and I can upscale a department. I can teach them everything they need to know about anything with ChatGPT or Microsoft Copilot. So from the simple bottleneck admin task, I can show you how to do that. But from a technical standpoint, if you want to create something custom or have different AI agents integrated, I would need a technical arm, or I
That
would
makes
like a
sense.
technical
Yeah.
arm to go ahead and handle that part.
Yeah, you
So-
could be a bridge to that business for
Yeah.
the business.
Well, we would be a partnership. So
Yeah.
I'm like, you're not
Yeah.
kicking me out the deal. So
Yeah.
it would be a partnership
Yeah.
between
Yeah.
us three, because they still would, and I feel like still strongly, they still would need me too. Because
The interaction.
yeah, I'm the one that the company trusts and knows. And then two, again, they're good at building things, but when it comes to really like emphasizing, well, what is this going to help with? Why do I need it? That whole sales process,
They're
most
not
of them
the best at talking about it. Yeah.
no, and they don't want to. Perfect.
Yeah,
they
that's
don't
fine.
want to.
Yeah, save
They're
time.
like, no, they're
Well, this is sort of like what
Yeah.
happened in general
No,
IT.
yeah.
And in general IT, if you look at it, one of the things that businesses and what I would call them coders, just because, and that's not a positive term, it's just what they know how to do, is they decided they didn't need business analysts. And the systems don't work well. And it's because you need somebody who understands the business as well as the technology to decide how you apply the technology to the business.
Right.
And, they sort of got together and decided, oh, we don't need those anymore. And I did a lot of consulting in the results.
It panned out for you.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, your problem is you need all that fixed. You need to go back and redo the analysis because it's obviously not done well.
Right.
And they're like, oh, we didn't do any. And I'm like, that could explain it.
Yeah, that works out. But no, yeah, that's what I'm also over a year, build stronger relationships so I can confidently know that I have a strong tech arm, because I feel the way I'm doing things, the networking I'm doing, the speaking engagements I'm doing, I'm now encountering corporates that would be beneficial for.
Yeah.
So I want to build it early. So I'm like, let's build it now.
Yeah.
And
Be ready.
don't forget about the training, especially with big companies, especially oil companies, because they like to do lots of technology updates. And if you go in and do the technology updates for all of their non-technical people, that whole group of people, who, by the way, frequently are the people running the company, suddenly consider you the expert.
Right. No,
And that's very strong, shall we say.
Right. No, you're definitely right. One of my mentors says that all the time, where he's like, you'll be surprised how many people, corporate, they're running the company and they have no idea what's happening.
And what they really want to know is, watching your training, that you know what's happening.
Right.
They don't need to know, they just need to know someone who does know.
Right, exactly. So yeah, that's my goals. More corporate and a stronger technical arm, so we can actually do the next step, training. But after we train, we want to build something custom, or if we want to,
If they need it,
that nature, exactly. If they need it, so just having it just in case.
It's wonderful. Well, how do people find you?
Oh, they can find me on website, social media. So social media is Jha, Jha, then Allen, Allen, and that's on Instagram, TikTok, and LinkedIn. And then my website is endless.
No Facebook?
I got Facebook too. It's my.
You left it off. I just thought I'd ask.
She's got to have something for herself.
I got Facebook, so if you want to find me on Facebook, you can use the same handle. You can find me on, you can find me on Facebook. It's funny you say that.
Wait a minute. Where can they find your website?
Oh, endless8marketing.com. Endless8, so ENDLESS, the number 8 redefining.marketing.com.
Wonderful. And in your training, what were you going to say?
No, I was going to say at one of my trainings, somebody followed me on Facebook and it's not listed, but she found me on Facebook. So, at the end of the training, you have, let's stay connected. And I had, my LinkedIn and my TikTok and my
That's probably
Instagram.
what she's on.
But she's on Facebook and she just went ahead and followed me on Facebook.
I was going to say, I only do LinkedIn and Facebook out of that list personally.
She asked me, she's like, she said, why did you add me on Facebook? I said, you on my Facebook? And sure enough, I went to my friends and friend requests, and I accept it because I post similar. Okay. I'm the same person on all of them. So I said, well, yeah,
that's good.
So you're a nice person on one and a mean person on the
other.
Oh, come on.
Playing all the different algorithms.
No, I got to be the same. Even for my Instagram, like, I just have to be the same person. And I'm starting to have all kind of different people follow me now too. So I'm trying to find that balance of how much do I really want to share and how much do I just really want to keep busy.
Next is your book. You're gonna co-write a book with ChatGPT, and you're gonna put that out there.
That's one of my goals. That's what I should have told. No, I feel this. They're gonna contact me to be a trainer for them because they need help. They're the people on the back end where they're doing a decent job now of doing podcasts. They do have someone running their Instagram, so they've gotten better at that. But I noticed from the OpenAI Academy, they partner with certain cities. So I'm like, I feel like they're going to contact me about, hey, we need to get consistent trainings going in Houston.
I could see you doing it with them.
Do training.
Yeah,
so
hit them up. Don't wait for him. Just be like,
and don't forget, you can always contact them saying the same thing.
Yeah, you need me. Let's go. Let's wait. Houston is the city to go.
I don't talk about this a lot, but I'm on their Instagram and their highlights. So I did a video one time and they contacted me. They're like, hey, they found it on TikTok. They're like, hey, this is a really great video. Do you mind if we repost it? And they did. And they're like, oh, we're going to post it on Instagram too. And I said, okay. So if you go to like ChatGPT's main Instagram, in their highlights, I'm one of the videos.
Nice.
On the main ChatGPT Instagram. So
it's in the works.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay. It's brewing.
Exactly.
We're courting one another.
Yeah, exactly.
It's fine. Well, thank you.
That explains the 10-year question.
Well, she can't disclose all the
where
plans.
they want to be in 10 years is filthy rich and retired to some place that they really like.
Yeah.
And basically just sort of every now and then doing something.
Yeah. Pop it out every now and then.
Hey, what's wrong with that?
Nothing.
Popping out every now
Sort of like
and then.
Bezos was doing and now is doing.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, come back. Let us know how you're doing. Let us know what we can do with you. And thank you for coming in today. And I want to say, if you're listening to this, check out Jha's work. Check out any of our other podcasts that you might like. And thank you to our subscribers. Keep taking care.
And all of these links that were mentioned overly fast.
So fast.
Will be in our comments.
Yep. You know why? Because AI does the work.
Yep. Because we don't do it.
Bye.
Bye. You going to say goodbye?
Oh, bye. Oh, I know it was a team effort.
No.
You don't have to say goodbye, but that'll just leave you on the podcast.
Okay,
Everybody will be wondering where you are.
No. She's in the ether. ChatGPT. She left. She was like poof. Wherever their data goes, she just evaporated.
Disappear with it,
Oh
right?
my gosh. I think that was a pretty good vibe.
Nah, it was.
Yeah.